Welcome to the Norsk Museum in Norway, Illinois. Let's journey together back to 1825 and visit Cleng Peerson, the Sloopers, and Reverend Elling Eilson. Here's where the docent will welcome you. This is our souvenir shop where books, trolls, apparel, everything Norwegian is available. Before we begin our virtual tour, please sign in or register. In October 1975, King Olaf V came to this area to help celebrate 150 years since the Sloopers first immigrated to America. This is King Olaf, also known as the People's King. Here is King Olaf along with Governor Dan Walker at the dedication of the Cleng Peerson Memorial Highway on Route 71. We have many old trunks throughout the museum. When our ancestors took that long voyage overseas to America, most times leaving their homeland and relatives for the last time, each family was allowed one trunk to place all their worldly belongings in. This trunk belonged to Daniel Rosdale, his wife, and 5 children. Daniel Rosdale was one of the owners of the restoration in 1825. What would you place in a trunk if you were leaving your country forever? This cupboard was made by the grandfather of the Thompson sisters, one of the museum's earliest patrons. Rosemalling is the traditional form of decorative art that originated in the rural areas of Norway. Each county of Norway has its own distinctive style of rosemalling, usually painted on wood, that uses stylized flower ornamentation and geometric elements. This is one of 2 paintings by a renowned artist, Sigmund Arse. He was instrumental in bringing Norwegian rosemalling to America in the 1960s. Hans Kandel of Ottawa assembled and painted this detailed model of a Viking longship. Next to that is the one-room schoolhouse display from the Thompson sisters collection. This includes a teacher's desk and books. Boys would take turns daily to refill the water container, restock coal or wood for the stove. Girls might clean the chalkboard and ring the bell as the class begins. Here's a view of the church balcony. This is our first slooper display. Lars Larsen, the ship's carpenter, remained in upstate New York to build boats on the newly opened Erie Canal. On display is a photo of his home in Rochester, the nameplate on his front door, his wife's glasses, and bank drafts from the Bank of Rochester. A butter container that was brought on the 1825 voyage is also on display. Also in 1925, the Sloopers celebrated 100 years in America. The Norse American Centennial event was recognized in Minneapolis by 84,000 attending from Norway, Canada, and even President Coolidge. These photos are from the parades and the Slooper descendants that week. The temperance movement was very active in the village of Norway. We have their temperance Bible and their handbook. The Thompson sisters' parents were married in 1903. Here we show their marriage certificate, wedding picture, and the wedding gown their mother was wearing at the time. This is our tribute display to Reverend Isleson and Cleng Peerson, father of Norwegian immigration. Reverend Isleson is the first ordained Norwegian Lutheran minister in America. This church building is a testimonial to Isleson, the Haugesund, the Norwegian who first began Lutheran worship services in North America in the Fox River area of Norway, Illinois in 1839. In 1841, the first church built by Isleson, a log cabin structure, burned after several years of use, and the building here today took its place. Isleson was born in Voss, Norway. As a young man, he went to Bergen to learn the trades of blacksmithing and carpentry, which was later helpful for the immigrants in America. Cleng Peerson, an early Norwegian explorer, was hired by New York Quakers to recruit Norwegian Quakers to relocate to America. Peerson recruited a combination of 52 Quakers and Hauge Lutherans to make the 1825 voyage. Both groups came to America for religious freedom. Cleng Peerson wasn't one for farming. He couldn't stay put very long. He sold his farm in upstate New York, then his farm in Norway, Illinois, and he continued exploring and starting settlements in Missouri, Iowa, got married again in Bishop Hill near Kewanee, and finally moved to Texas, where he was buried in 1865. On the balcony are two original shields from the Viking ship. In 1893 was the Columbia Exposition, the Chicago World's Fair. Chicago is celebrating 400 years since Columbus discovered America. Well, all good Norwegians know that Leif Erikson discovered America 500 years before Columbus, so a newspaperman from Norway had a Viking ship built. He hired a crew of seasoned sailors to sail the ship from Norway to New York, then up the Erie Canal through the Great Lakes, finally landing at Chicago. The Viking set anchor next to the Nina Pinta in Santa Maria, which had to be towed to America. The Viking is currently on display at Good Templar Park in Geneva, Illinois, and available for tours throughout the summer. Enoch Grood, stepfather of Merv Eastwald, built this model in 1980. Here are more ship models. This is our fishing display and more early artifacts. What would a church be without a pew? This is from a French church north of Serena, which doesn't exist anymore. This has been beautifully rosemolded. And here's another pew that was locally rosemolded. Okay, high on the wall is a rosemolding example painted by nationally recognized painter Johnny Johnson, who painted a twin set presented to the King of Norway for his 1975 visit. A replica restoration was built in 2010 and is docked in the Stavanger area. Here's another view of the restoration, dwarfed next to a modern cruise ship. Just imagine 52 passengers sailing the open seas of the Atlantic close to 100 days. The Sloopers didn't lose one passenger but gained. Mrs. Lars Larsen gave birth to a baby girl during this voyage. Here are more Slooper artifacts, including wooden shoes and the tools to build them, a pipe, and above are early panoramic views of old Stavanger. Norwegians practically invented winter. Here are ice skates, clothing, and skis. Skiing was invented in Scandinavia over 2,000 years ago. This is a Sven Svensson original painting. He was born in Norway, famous for his winter landscapes. He died in 1945 in Chicago. Bunags, Norwegian costumes unique to each county of Norway. Bunags traditionally worn for special occasions such as confirmations, weddings, and of course, 10th of May parades. This is one of our children's areas. Here the child can dress the doll in their favorite bunad. This is a pharmacy display case from the Henniger's drugstore in Newark, Illinois. And here's a view of the church balcony. And here's a view of the church sanctuary below from the balcony. Now we have stepped in an early kitchen with cooking utensils, table, and butter trays. What would a kitchen be without stoves? They used wood, coal, gas, even corn cobs to help start the fire. And here's a fully stocked cupboard. Here we have lye soap and the recipe to make it. We also have an ice box. The ice truck would deliver twice a week from the ice house. Ice was cut during the winter from ponds and rivers, cut into blocks, and then covered with sawdust to remain cold during the summer months. We also have Lepso rolling pins for your favorite dessert. Sons of Norway Lodge, Cleng Peerson, once the largest lodge in America. The locals started the lodge in 1973 in anticipation of the king's visit. They recruited close to 1,200 members. The lodge still meets monthly. You're welcome to join in and learn the culture and meet new friends. In 1934, the village of Norway celebrated their centennial. Over 5,000 people visited that week from all over. This dining room is truly one of the gems of the museum. A couple recently married in Chicago suburbs contracted to have this dining room handmade and hand-carved in Norway and shipped to their home in Maywood, Illinois. This is a map of Norway. There are small papers and stick pins for you to place your ancestor's name at the farm area on the map. This is the bedroom, including a lady's wash table and man's desk. Varda Dahl created this fine example of Norwegian tapestry in the 1890s. This tells a story about the Nessie in the forest. And here is a variety of early children's toys. And here's a large collection of crystal and various glassware. Trolls are always fun to see and read about, especially at bedtime. And on the right of the display case, we see that Norway, Illinois had their own orchestra, basketball, and baseball teams. In 1875, Norway had their own murder, which was never solved. James Ingalls was Justice of the Peace and coroner. He presided over the hearing. Here's another children's area to create their own troll with clay. Before MP3s and iPods, there was the Thomas Edison phonograph. This is our living room, along with the Viking timeline on the back wall. Here's a closer look at the timeline, 25 feet in length from the early Viking age to present day. This display shows a stereo viewer and holiday cards. On the farm, little goes to waste. Even flour sacks are reused as aprons, pillows, and more. Nobody works on Sunday. After church, you might travel by horse or automobile to visit friends or relatives. Here is a collection of calling cards just for the occasion. We also have stamps featuring notable Norwegians such as Leif Erikson, Earl Warren, and Knut Rockne. This is everything you might need for laundry day, except for soap and water. After laundry was complete before perma-press, you need to iron. Before the iron was the wooden mangle board. Scandinavian tradition was presenting a mangle board to a girl's front door. It was highly decorated if he really wants to win her favor. If she brought the board inside, the courtship began. If she refused, the young man would have to make another for the next girl. Thus goes the saying, beware of the man with too many mangle boards. And this is a loom for making rugs or clothing. And in this corner we see a potbelly stove along with bookcases of hundreds of Norwegian family Bibles. Now we enter the farm area with the tools they use. This is a model of a steam threshing machine. It was on loan by Jerry and Carol Johnson. And here are more farm tools. This is an egg cart machine and tools for working with trimming hooves to shearing wool. This barn wall is created from wood rescued from a 100-year-old barn being torn down. And here we have more tools of the farm, including a blacksmith area, saws, scales, seed separators, and much more. And here are various woodworking tools. And here are some primitive tools from Norway, the old country. And on the back wall we see a dairy fat tester, canning jars, and tiling tools for draining standing water away from the field. And here are some yokes for horses or oxen. And when the automobile came along, then came the tools for that. This is our tribute to local notable Norwegians. Major General Tuftoy recruited Werner von Braun from the Nazis to create our missile program, then the NASA space program. At the end of World War II, the Nazis were launching V-1 and V-2 missiles at London. Tuftoy located the parts for 100 V-2 missiles as well as von Braun. He convinced the U.S. Army to accept von Braun and 100 of his fellow scientists to join America under Operation Paperclip. This is Holger Tuftoy, or Mr. Missile. He's also known to his friends as Ludi for his love of lutefisk. Just imagine our world today if it wasn't for Tuftoy's foresight and perseverance. We might not be as strong militarily as a nation. We probably wouldn't have computers, and certainly not cell phones. Russia and England were also searching for the V-2 scientist. Just imagine. Here are three more local notable Norwegians. Dr. Donald Duvik was a pioneer in crop genetics soon after World War II. Genetics is commonplace today. Cy Johnson is known for being the last man to strike out Babe Ruth. And Colonel Porter Olson was killed as a Civil War hero. Colonel Olson was born in Rochester, New York, son of Ole Olson, a slooper. Ole Olson sent all three of his sons to fight in the Civil War to stop slavery, while Ole was home helping with the Underground Railroad. This is Cy Johnson again. During his 20-year plus in the majors, he would manage the Norway store during off-season, while his half-brother managed the store during the summer months. It would be commonplace to see Cy playing checkers at the store with his baseball buddies such as Dizzy Dean. During the annual Norway Car Show, we would have a special display of our license plate collection. Here we have auto and truck license plates from 1913 through the mid-1980s. This is always popular with the local car buffs. One of our most recent additions to our collection is this Skagerrak Viking ship. This is 1/3 scale of a real Viking ship, built and donated by John Mack of North Chicago. Look forward to seeing us at a parade near you. 2015, the museum was totally renovated, thanks to Anna Pierce. Well, this is the end of our tour for the inside of the museum. Let's take a walk around outside. Our normal museum schedule season is June through September, Saturday and Sundays from 1 to 5 p.m. The museum is available year-round, however, for tours upon reservation. School trips, seniors, 4-H scouts, and you are welcome. The Norsk Museum is totally operated by volunteers and your donations. We are a tax-exempt 501c3. We are always looking for that next great piece to add to our collection. On May 6, 2016, the Director of the National Park Service announced additions to the properties for the National Register of Historic Places, including the Hauge Lutheran Church in Norway, Illinois. This church was built around 1846, currently home to our Norsk Museum. This is the Norway welcome sign, first permanent Norwegian settlement in America, established in 1834. Before you leave Norway, I encourage you to stop into the Norway store. This store has been in the Borsenius family for 6 generations, built around 1848. It's a museum in itself. You can buy your gas, get groceries, Scandinavian goods, have a restaurant, and even get a haircut. While in Norway, stop by the National Norwegian Monuments. This is where the king dedicated the Cleng Peerson Memorial Highway. This is also the Nelson Cemetery, where Clegg's sister is buried. Carrie married Cornelius Nelson, thus the Nelson Cemetery. Here's our delegation during our meeting in Springfield. Our first step before being officially recognized by the National Register of Historic Buildings. Here's a behind-the-scenes view at the museum board meeting. This is our museum's first board president, Buck Borsenius, sharing a story with Anna Pierce. This is Ralph Johnson recording an Ole and Lena ad at WCMY Radio in Ottawa. Opening day to start a new season is always held on the first Saturday of June. Enjoy a Norwegian breakfast and entertainment this June. I highly recommend marking your calendar. The breakfast includes fried kumla, eggs, Norwegian waffles with lingonberries, and of course, coffee and pastries. The museum is open early this day with lots of entertainment and demonstrations. This is certainly an event not to miss. Here's a tour bus from Norway, Europe, visiting our museum in Norway, Illinois. And here's another group that just visited the museum, posing in front of the church. Here's another visit from our Norwegian cousins. Thank you for taking this virtual tour with me, and Mange takk.